1123 species in genus Croton. November 15th. Croton, the colorful beauty, defines November 15th. Croton symbolizes passion and transformation. Your vibrant personality and energy leave a lasting impact. Like its bold, multicolored leaves, you bring excitement and warmth to every space. What is a Croton? Croton is a genus belong to the Euphorbiaceae family. For me, a Croton is that beautiful but slightly finicky houseplant with the dramatic leaves. The one I have right now is sitting on my bookshelf, and the leaves are a riot of colors: deep green, sunshine yellow, and even some streaks of orange. It's like a tiny burst of sunshine in my living room. I love how the leaves curl in on themselves at the edges, and they feel so smooth and waxy when I brush against them. It took me a while to get the watering right, though. They don't like to be soggy, but they also don't like to dry out completely. But now that I've figured it out, my Croton seems happy and keeps putting out new growth. See full list at monsteraholic.com. How to care for a Croton plant. Based on my experience with my own Croton, I've learned they can be a little fussy about watering. The key is to find the happy medium, moist soil, but not soggy. Sticking my finger in the dirt to check dryness is key. If it feels even slightly damp an inch or so down, I hold off on watering. Also, I learned the hard way that they love bright, indirect light. Mine sits right next to a south-facing window, but gets filtered light through a sheer curtain. Direct sun can scorch the leaves, so be careful. Oh, and one more thing. I wipe the leaves down with a damp cloth every now and then to keep them looking shiny and dust-free. Seems to make the plant happy too. How to propagate Croton. Propagating my Croton was actually pretty fun. I used stem cuttings. I took a healthy-looking stem, about 6 inches long, with a few sets of leaves. Made sure to cut it at an angle just below a leaf node with sharp pruners. Clean cuts help prevent rot. I then dipped the cut end in rooting hormone, which I found at the local gardening store. Not essential, but it can boost root growth. Then I planted the stem in a small pot with well-draining potting mix. Kept the soil moist but not soggy, and placed the pot in a warm spot with indirect light. It took a few weeks, but eventually tiny roots started to sprout. I waited until the roots were well established before transplanting the new little Croton to a bigger pot. It was so rewarding to see my own baby Croton growing from a simple cutting. Are Croton plants toxic to cats? Ugh, yes. That's the one downside to my beautiful Croton. I had no idea they were toxic to cats until a friend who's a vet mentioned it. Apparently the sap and leaves can irritate their mouths and tummy if they chew on them, and in bad cases could be more serious. Luckily, my cat seems more interested in batting at my string of pearls than the Croton, but it's definitely something to consider. If you have a curious kitty who likes to munch on plants, a Croton might not be the best choice. There are some cat-safe plants out there, like spider plants, that might be a better fit for a multi-pet household. Why is my Croton dropping leaves? Oh no, not the leaf drop. There are a few reasons why my Croton might be shedding its colorful leaves. It could be getting a little thirsty. Crotons like consistently moist soil, but not soggy. Sticking my finger in the dirt and checking for dryness at least an inch down is what works for me. If it's dry, that might be the culprit. On the other hand, maybe I've been overwatering it. Droopy, yellowing leaves can be a sign of that too. Finding the right watering balance can be tricky. Also, Crotons don't like cold drafts or sudden temperature changes. Maybe I bumped it while moving furniture or forgot to close the window on a chilly night. Those could stress the plant out and make it lose some leaves. Time to check the thermostat and make sure it's in a happy spot away from any vents or drafty windows. Are Croton plants toxic to dogs? Absolutely. My Croton is just as dangerous to curious pups as it is to felines. Those beautiful leaves and sap are toxic to our canine companions as well. If ingested, it can cause mouth irritation, drooling, vomiting, and diarrhea. Luckily, it's usually not fatal, but it's definitely not pleasant for them. My friend's dog took a nibble out of a Croton leaf once, and let's just say there were some major tummy troubles for a day or two. It was a scare, and it definitely made me extra cautious about keeping my plant out of reach. Maybe consider placing your Croton on a high shelf or using a hanging planter to keep it safely away from your furry friend. There are also plenty of dog-safe plants out there, like snake plants or bromeliads, that you can add to your home without worry. Are Crotons perennials? In warmer climates, yes, Crotons can actually be grown outdoors as perennials. At least, that's what I've read. Here in my apartment, though, mine is definitely a houseplant perennial. Since it gets cold here in the winter, I wouldn't risk putting it outside. But with proper care, it can live for many years indoors, putting out new growth and keeping those beautiful leaves colorful. I think mine is going on 3 years now, and it seems happy as long as I keep up with the watering, light, and occasional wipe down of the leaves. So perennial outdoors in the right zones, and definitely a long-lasting indoor plant with some TLC. Do Crotons like full sun? My Croton loves bright light, but I wouldn't say it goes for full-blown sun all day long. At least, not the afternoon sun here. Those harsh rays can scorch the leaves and make the colors dull. Mine sits near a south-facing window, but it gets filtered light through a sheer curtain. That seems to be the sweet spot. Lots of light, but diffused so it's not too intense. I've read that some folks have success with their Crotons getting some early morning sun, but then prefer them to have some shade during the hottest part of the day. Maybe depending on your climate and the window it's by, you could experiment a bit. Just keep an eye on the leaves. If they start to brown or curl at the edges, that might be a sign it's getting too much direct sun. Better to err on the side of caution and give it some filtered light instead. How often to water Croton? Watering my Croton is all about finding the balance between happy and hydrated, not soggy and sad. It can be a bit tricky, but I've learned from some trial and error. Here's what works for me. Finger check. Sticking my finger into the soil is key. I aim for the top inch or so to feel dry to the touch before watering again. If it feels even slightly damp down there, I hold off. Overwatering is a real enemy with Crotons, so it's better to err on the side of dryness. Seasonally savvy. During the summer months, when my Croton is actively growing, it might need watering once a week or so. Winter is a different story though. As the days get shorter and the temperatures cooler, I cut back on watering to maybe every other week. The key is to adjust based on what the plant is telling me. Leaf watch. Drooping or wilting leaves can be a sign of thirst, but be careful not to confuse that with overwatering. If the underwatering is chronic, the leaves might also start to brown at the tips. These are all my cues to check the soil moisture and adjust my watering accordingly. Remember, every plant is an individual, and your watering needs might vary depending on the size of your Croton, the pot it's in, and the humidity levels in your home. But with some practice and attention to your plant's signals, you should be able to find the perfect watering routine to keep your Croton happy and thriving. Does Croton flower? You might be surprised to hear this, but yes, Crotons can flower. Though in my experience, they're not exactly known for their dazzling blooms. At least, not my houseplant Croton. I've heard that outdoors in their natural habitat, they can flower more readily, but indoors it's a bit of a rare sight. If my Croton ever decided to grace me with flowers, they'd probably be small and clustered, and most likely a white or yellowish color. Not exactly show-stopping, but kind of interesting to see nonetheless. From what I've read, they appear in the upper leaf axils, which are the little crooks where the leaves meet the stem. Honestly, though, I don't really care if mine ever flowers. The beautiful variegated leaves are the main attraction for me. But hey, if it ever decides to surprise me with a bloom or two, I won't complain. How big does Croton get? The ultimate height of my Croton depends on where it lives. Here's the deal. Indoor ambitions. As a houseplant, my Croton won't reach for the sky. Most Crotons grown indoors stay on the cozy side, typically reaching 3 to 5 feet tall. With some pruning, I can even keep it even more compact if space is at a premium. Tropical titans. Outdoors in tropical areas, though, that's a whole different story. Croton's true potential comes out where it's warm and humid year-round. In those conditions, they can morph into sizable shrubs, reaching up to 10 feet tall. Imagine that, my little houseplant becoming a tropical giant. Do Croton plants like to be root-bound? In my experience, Crotons are okay with being slightly root-bound, but not excessively so. It's like they like a happy medium for their roots as well. Here's what I've observed. Cozy comfort. When my Croton's roots have filled out the pot comfortably, it seems to encourage new growth on the top. It might even put out a flower or two, though those are rare for indoor plants. Maybe a little root snugness helps it focus its energy upwards. Too tight trouble. However, if the roots become excessively crammed in the pot, things can go south. The plant might start to look stunted, with new growth slowing down or stopping altogether. I might also notice the leaves losing their vibrant colors or even dropping off. That's a sign it's time to give my Croton a bigger pot with fresh soil. So, to answer your question, crotons can tolerate being root-bound to a certain extent, but it's important to be watchful for signs of stress and repot when necessary to keep them happy and thriving. Nobody likes feeling cramped, not even a plant. What plants look good with crotons? Since our crotons are known for their dramatic foliage and pops of color, let's think about plants that can complement them in different ways. Textural contrast. Ferns are a great choice here. Their soft, feathery fronds add a lovely textural contrast to the croton's bold leaves. Spider plants are another option, with their cascading greenery softening the look. Color play. For an analogous color scheme, try pairing your croton with plants that have similar color tones in their leaves. For example, a Chinese evergreen with burgundy foliage would pick up on the deeper reds sometimes seen in crotons. On the other hand, if you want a complementary pop, try a golden pothose with its bright green leaves. Similar light needs. Remember, happy plants are beautiful plants, so it's important to choose companions that share similar light requirements. Snake plants, with their architectural form, and Dracaena marginata, with its upright growth habit, are both low-light lovers like crotons. Trailing beauties. Hanging plants can add another dimension to your croton display. A purple heart plant, with its cascading deep burgundy foliage, would complement the croton's colors beautifully. String of pearls, with its delicate, bead-like leaves, adds a whimsical touch. Ultimately, the best way to choose plants that look good with your croton is to consider the overall look you're going for in your space. Experiment, have fun, and see what combinations catch your eye. How to revive a dead croton plant. It can be heartbreaking to see a once vibrant croton looking droopy and lifeless. But don't give up just yet. Depending on how far gone it is, there might still be hope for reviving your croton friend. Here are some steps you can take. Hydration hero. Check the soil moisture first. Sometimes a seemingly dead croton is just thirsty. Stick your finger an inch or so down into the soil. If it feels dry, give your croton a good soak until water runs out the drainage holes. Let it completely drain before placing it back in its pot. Overwatering can also lead to a decline, so avoid that soggy soil situation. Lighten up. Crotons love light, but not always super harsh direct sun. Check the placement of your plant. If it's getting blasted by afternoon sun, that could be the culprit. Move it to a spot with bright, indirect light. East or north-facing windows are ideal. Pruning power. If some stems are completely brown and lifeless, prune them off with sharp, clean shears. This allows the plant to focus its energy on healthier parts. You can also try pruning back leggy or damaged branches to encourage new growth. Root check rescue. If the above steps don't bring your croton back from the brink, it might be time for a root inspection. Gently remove the plant from its pot and check the roots. Mushy, brown roots indicate rot, likely from overwatering. You can try to salvage the situation by removing the rotten roots and repotting the plant in fresh, well-draining soil. Warmth matters. Crotons don't like cold drafts or sudden temperature changes. Make sure it's in a consistently warm spot away from vents, doors, or leaky windows. Remember, revival is a process, so be patient. If your croton shows some signs of life after trying these steps, keep providing proper care, and it might just surprise you with new growth. If it's a very sad case, though, it might be time to say goodbye and start fresh with a new croton plant. Will croton leaves grow back? No, the individual croton leaves that have fallen off won't magically grow back on the same stem. But that doesn't mean all hope is lost for your colorful foliage friend. Here's the deal. Scar tissue story. Where the leaf used to be, there's a little scar on the stem. This is where new growth might sprout from, but it won't be the same exact leaf. New branching out. With proper care, your croton might surprise you by putting out new growth from these little bumpies, or nodes, on the stem. These new shoots will eventually develop into fresh leaves, giving your plant a fuller look. Snip, snip, sprout. If you're impatient for more leaves, you can try propagating your croton. Take a healthy stem cutting with a few nodes and some leaves. Root it in water or moist soil, and with some TLC, it'll grow into a whole new croton plant with plenty of leaves. So, while the exact leaves you lose won't return, your croton has the potential to bounce back with beautiful new growth with proper care. Are croton plants deer-resistant? You bet. Crotons are generally considered deer-resistant. Those beautiful but slightly toxic leaves seem to be a turn-off for our browsing friends. At least, That's been my experience and what I've read online. There are always exceptions, of course. If deer are desperate for food in the winter months, they might nibble on just about anything. But for the most part, crotons with their interesting foliage and potentially irritating sap don't rank high on a deer's buffet list. So if you're looking for a colorful plant that won't get munched by deer, a croton might be a perfect choice for your garden. Just remember, they're not fans of super cold weather, so in harsher climates, they might be happier as container plants that you can bring indoors during the winter. Can crotons grow outside? Absolutely, but it depends on where you live. Crotons are happiest in warm, humid climates year-round. They thrive as outdoor plants in USDA growing zones 9 to 11. These zones encompass areas in the southern United States with mild winters where temperatures rarely dip below freezing. If you're not in those zones, don't despair. You can still enjoy crotons as houseplants, or you can bring them outdoors during the warmer months and treat them like temporary patio plants. Just be sure to bring them back inside before the first frost. Can crotons survive winter? It depends. Crotons are definitely not fans of cold weather. Here's the breakdown. Tropical at heart. These guys are native to the warm, humid tropics, so freezing temperatures are a big no-no. They can't survive a hard frost, let alone an extended winter freeze. Zone check. If you live in USDA growing zones 9 to 11, which are basically the southernmost parts of the U.S. with mild winters, then crotons can potentially survive outdoors year-round. Container caution. Even in warmer zones, some gardeners prefer to keep their crotons in containers. This allows them to bring the plants indoors during cold snaps for extra protection. Houseplant hero. For most folks living in areas with colder winters, crotons make fantastic houseplants. They bring a burst of color and foliage interest indoors. With proper care, they can thrive for many years. So, while surviving winter outdoors really depends on your climate, crotons can definitely add a touch of the tropics to your life, no matter where you live. Can crotons take full sun? Crotons can tolerate full sun, but with some important caveats. Morning sun is best. Early morning sun exposure can be beneficial for your croton, giving it a good dose of light to start the day. However, avoid harsh afternoon sun, especially in hot climates. Intensity matters. The intensity of sunlight matters a lot. Crotons native to tropical rainforests are accustomed to filtered sunlight through the tree canopy. Direct afternoon sun, especially in very hot and dry regions, can scorch the leaves and dull the vibrant colors. Location, location, location. Consider the placement of your croton. A south-facing window might be too much, especially in the afternoon. East or north-facing windows with more diffused light are ideal. If your croton is outdoors, provide some shade during the hottest part of the day, especially if you live in a warm climate. Leaf watch. Keep an eye on your croton's leaves. If they start to brown or curl at the edges, that's a sign it's getting too much sun. Move it to a shadier spot or use a sheer curtain to diffuse the light. Ultimately, the key is finding the right balance for your specific croton. Some experimentation and observing how your plant reacts to different light conditions might be necessary. But remember, when in doubt, err on the side of caution and provide more filtered light to avoid sun damage.